I'm going to get away from the X's and O's real quick. And maybe this isn't the third quarter, but I saw it in the third quarter. If you were Orlando, I'm sorry. Stop giving Boston bulletin board material. I mean, just stop it. Like when you are, and I get it. And maybe on the flip side from the Orlando Magic side of things, they're really not trying to, right? But like if you're the inferior team, stop getting these guys up to play. I mean, don't, right? I'll take it. But like when you're getting Boston's seventh man, Al Horford, up and active and going in a first round matchup, it's going to be hell for you. And you're looking at Orlando and Goga, that was accidental, right? But the KCP antics, you're just looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, like, you're doing this to yourself. Like you are getting you're getting the Garden crowd up and on their feet in a series that you could see the Boston crowd has a tendency in the first round to kind of be a dormant, right? They don't really wake up until the second round, the third, like. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, like, Orlando, what are you doing? Well, it just feels like you're shooting yourself in the foot by getting the Al Horfords and Peyton Pritchards and all these guys up and active and getting to play, because really your best shot here is Boston goes to sleep. And when Boston goes to sleep and you're Orlando, you guys are like, that's when you pounce. That's when you attack. And it was just a thought. I saw it in the third quarter when Kristaps, when he went down and the crowd gets into it. And then here comes Brown on the attack and Pritchard hits a couple threes and then White gets hot and Holiday gets to the rim, gets the N1. So it's just like you watch it and it transpires. And it's like, okay, in game one, crowd rallies behind Tatum, Celtics close it out, right? Game two, right, the KCP antics happen, and then Kristaps goes down and he starts, WWE, blood everywhere, UFC, Joe Mazzulla probably loving it. You saw the quote, and the crowd's up, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my, if you're Orlando, I mean, here you go. You got the Boston Celtics TD Garden up and on their feet, and you're the Orlando Magic. And it was just, in my opinion, I just thought it was just like, what are you doing, Orlando? Stop giving them bulletin board material.
Is this a good time to bring up the Porzingis blood right now?
Yeah.
I mean,
you know what? It's a really
this
good time.
was great. This was a moment in the playoffs, all right? Like, how we all remember, like, oh, Marcus Smart turned his ankle and then went to the locker room and then came back and then we lost the game. It's like, well, this one is kind of the same. I mean, Porzingis, the way he was bleeding on the floor, I'm thinking, it's like one of those like WWE cuts where they razor blade themselves just in the right area to make them bleed a ton all over the ring. And it felt like that. Porzingis, you see here, he cannot believe there's blood on him right now. Like, look, typically guys, they look at their hands and they always look for blood, and everybody's like, you don't have any blood on you, you're good. And then Porzingis, he comes up and it's like, it's all red. It's all of it is red. And you see, he went back to the locker room, put the towel on his head.
That right there. This is an all-time picture right there. You're gonna look back on this playoff run, and that's gonna be the picture.
100%. This one kind of reminds me, like, how does Porzingis? This is like his signature pick. Like, he has one like this on opening night. He scored 30 points in his debut as a Celtic. Yep. Yeah, against the Knicks at MSG. It literally a photo that looks just like this. But you see Porzingis walking off the floor here. Yeah, it gives you a little bit more of an image there. A lot of blood here, a lot of blood. But then he came out like a World War I veteran. It's just this massive bandage on his head. I got to give shout outs to Joe Ingles, the original World War I veteran out there. And then you see this one from Daniel Donabedian right here on the Jumbotron. Porzingis, he was loving it. He was absolutely loving it. He didn't care. At this point, they had not put stitches into his head yet. Porzingis, 5 stitches. And we got to remind ourselves, Porzingis had a couple stitches in his nose a week and a half ago. I don't remember how many, but another 5 for his head. I want to say he probably has upwards of 10 stitches in his face right now from the last 2 weeks of basketball. But you see, he loved it. Well, he wasn't even patched up at this point. I mean, he was patched up, but he wasn't sewed up at this time. And you see here this from the Celtics, and just another view of that bandage on Kristaps Porzingis's head. This was just an all-time playoff moment, I got to say. When it happened, when the blood started flowing and then Porzingis was having fun, you realized it wasn't that serious. Yeah, a couple stitches here and there, but came back, hit the free throws, and then went back to the locker room. Definitely an all-time playoff moment there for Kristaps Porzingis and the Garden crowd. That one's going to be one in like 2040. We're like, Porzingis, like, 15 years ago at the blood. Like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. But fun times because Porzingis, he's all right. He's all right.
Right. There's always something with him.
I think the demoralizing to the Orlando Magic. This was probably the game that Orlando had the best chance of pulling out one, and you could kind of see that they had that mentality going through this game. Is we can potentially win this one out. You saw, obviously, the playoff energy and intensity is different, but they were playing through the first minute until the very last, and it's challenging to see the Celtics really starting to struggle unless we do see them fall asleep. But when we first started off this show, I said I don't even know where to begin with this series and where to go from it because I was just so perplexed, and the Celtics Talk Weekly word of the year or our slogan, mind-boggling. I, I don't know why the Orlando Magic feel the need to poke the bear in this series, and it's
Like, what are you doing? You're not
it's a
benefiting
very
yourself.
yeah, like it's a confidence level that I have no idea what to compare it to. It's like seeing that shorter guy in the bar walking up to the bouncer, being like, "Hey, you can't kick me out of here. I'll stand up to you." And the bouncer's a 6'8" offensive lineman that's just back for the summer, and just tosses them out with one arm. But that that's that's probably the best similarity I can draw to the Orlando Magic game. But I don't know what energy it would have to take for Orlando to switch over the momentum of the series, even by grabbing one game while they were down in Orlando. But the possibility of that happening is doesn't seem very high because it seems like they have the Celtics team up and ready to go, and for in the Celtics' best interest, it is their best interest to get out of this series as quick as they can, not only to save their energy, but just to avoid these physical battles that they're going to continue to put forth against us.
Well, this seems like a classic. Like when you're losing, it's like, don't really care about basketball anymore. I
Aim for
care
the
about
knees.
It's
right.
like the
It's like care
LeBron
about
quote. It's just
violence.
basketball. It's just basketball. Is that where Orlando's
This
at?
is where Orlando's at the point where it's like, all right, it's gonna be half basketball, half UFC in game three. I think that's where, because even the Goga play, like I'm gonna talk about that for a second. I'm not so certain that was accidental. Like it definitely looked accidental, but it's like, could there have been a little extra motion knowing Porzingis was there? I mean, they do have a history against each other. I was surprised everybody was immediately like, "Oh, it's accidental. It's accidental." It's like, these guys do have a history against each other. Obviously, he probably wasn't meaning to make them bleed, but sometimes you have guys out there on the court you don't like, and what happens? You Draymond Green flail all over the place, and my elbow, my arm, he hit his
Goga
head.
plays
Like
it
I
off
didn't mean
every time,
to.
though.
What was that, Franco?
He plays it off every time like it's an accident, and it's like fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Well, there's
I
no
mean,
with Draymond. There's no
yeah,
last year. Well, last season there was no fooling because I mean he literally choked out Rudy Gobert and then he literally punched Yusuf Nurkic.
Yeah,
And I mean like
like,
there
I'm talking
he
about
went
Goga
beyond flailing
even early,
last year.
even
but
earlier this season with Goga.
but I'd agree. It seemed like Gogo. It seemed he whipped his elbow pretty hard, and I don't know. He didn't have a ball he was coming down with. He didn't have anything, so I don't
No, that's what
know.
I'm saying. The ball was like on the other side of him, and he like came down like the opposite way. And I
Yeah,
could see how like you're going up for a ball and you don't come like you don't get it and you don't come down with it and
but the
you
way it
kind of like you
swung.
come down a little weirdly, but it's like, hey, he kind of turned and hit him. Like he kind of like I feel like there could have been some extra effort there, and there could have been some, like play it off, acting. And these guys, let's face it, when a guy is flailing, it's like the whole point is to make it look unintentional. And it's like, did Goga like did he achieve his goal in that? Like he kind of did make it look unintentional if it actually was intentional. But I mean, regardless, they had the history there. maybe a little bit more history now. I know people are going to find that unintentional, but again, that'll be a moment later on in time. As for the general chippiness in this series, you can tell Al Horford, first of all, Al Horford does not get riled up all the time. I mean, seriously, you don't see Al Horford all the time get riled up. But when there was some antics earlier, KCP kind of ran into Al Horford, and both of them fall to the ground. And KCP, he kind of fell to the ground in a way of like brother and sister, and one hits the other, and it's like, oh, I'm hurt, and then the other one's like, oh, I'm hurt too. It's like that's what KCP was doing. It's like, oh, I'm on the ground too, guys. Like I tripped too, and it was like. No, he caused that play, and Al Horford he got up immediately. And this like there are just moments in these playoff games where you just kind of like it's like, oh, this feels like a moment. Like obviously the Porzingis blood injury and all that goes down, and then that Horford hard rebound. It felt like, oh, if the Magic if they make a three on that possession, it's like the game kind of swings around. Instead, Horford gets that tough rebound, passes, outlets the passes to I don't remember who he was passing to in transition, but they ran it up the floor. I think it was Holiday, maybe could have been White, but they ran up the floor, and Kristaps Porzingis had a wide open layup on the other end in which he thought he got fouled on. But that's a 5-point swing right there in the game, and that felt like a moment. And the Horford KCP little it wasn't necessarily a tie up there because they never really got close to each other, but obviously they hit each other, fell down. But then Horford gets up. He gets up, and you feel like, oh, Horford, he's about to go run over to KCP. And then just Horford's veteran self comes out and he goes, nope, I'm not going over there. The calm comes out now.
Drew Holiday. Hey, give Drew Holiday his flowers too, because
Drew Holiday and Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla, I'm surprised he didn't push Horford over to him. Like,
I don't know what.
Go hit him in the face. That feels like Joe Mazzulla after game one. What we saw, it's like I'm surprised he didn't push Horford over there. But the real moment afterwards was when Horford he walks away from the whole crowd by himself, and everybody's kind of in the middle there breaking it up. Like players are coming, everybody's breaking it up, and then Horford kind of walks out the back door of the crowd and the scrum in the middle of the floor. He just kind of walks around, walks near the basket, walks towards the free throw line, then kind of walks towards the corner, and you literally see like the entirety of that corner of the Garden just stand up, and they're all looking at Horford, and you can tell they're just shouting things at him, they're clapping at him, and that just felt like a moment where Horford, he's just standing there in front of everybody, and it feels like he's on a stage with a spotlight. It was just him at the end of the court there in the corner, and it just felt like the whole Garden on that side of the floor was just standing up, applauding Horford, shouting things at him, and that felt like a playoff moment right there. It's like, oh, here comes the playoff chippiness. You think Al Horford's gonna go beat up KCP, everybody gets split up, and then Al Horford goes to the corner and then gets just this amazing ovation from the Garden crowd on that side. I mean, it was probably the whole arena, but you could see everybody on that side was particularly standing up, looking at him, and that was just an awesome moment within this game. And hopefully, moving forward, I don't want to see things like the Porzingis thing again, where guys are getting injured, there's blood flying. But hey, that's what we want to see for the playoffs. We want to see some chippiness. If there's blood involved, so be it. You don't want to see that in its entirety, but if it has to happen, and it's like Porzingis, where he's totally fine afterwards, gets a couple of stitches, kind of just to put a Band-Aid over it, literally, for Porzingis, it's all right. It's the playoffs. This is the name of the game. It's physicality, it's chippiness, and when one team realizes they can't score and they have to muck up the game, and they're failing at doing that as well. They're doing it, and they're failing at bringing out a win from that. That's when things can get a little over the top, because if you have a real physical team playing real physical basketball, and they're starting the nerves are starting to get to them from the standpoint of failure, that's when we can see things like we saw tonight, whether that Goga foul was unintentional or not, and that KCP running with Al Horford. I think we're gonna see more of that in Game 3, and I really think Game 3, it's like the Magic are fighting for their season, and I'm waiting to see what kind of antics come out in that game, because those guys down in Orlando, they're going to come out swinging. I mean, literally or figuratively, they're going to come out swinging, because you could see there was that uptick tonight in the between the two teams, the animosity. There was definitely that uptick, and that's what we love to see in these playoff series, is the uptick in aggression, to the point where there are little scuffles here and there. So the chippiness certainly something on display in this series, and I guess we had, I mean, I think playoffs have been pretty good for chippiness. The other day, Jamal Murray. So Jamal Murray gets shoved by Norman Powell. Norman Powell goes and runs and gets the ball. And then Jamal Murray literally runs over to Norman Powell. And the way you can see it form, you're like, oh, I like anybody who's played basketball before and been frustrated. Right. If you've been frustrated on the basketball floor before, it's like you know exactly the mentality of
Like
Jamal Murray in that moment.
Something just takes over you, and you're just like, dude, I'm pissed off right now. I'm not gonna hurt. I'm not gonna necessarily hurt him, but I'm being a little more physical.
It's like you're gonna touch him up. That's what they say on TNT. You're gonna touch him up. Like Jamal Murray just goes over there and lifts Norman Powell off the ground, and while he's doing it, he's like doing one of these. Like I'm not even touching him. I'm not. And meanwhile, he's like lifting him off the ground. But it's like everybody's seen that in basketball, where it's like, you're being physical with somebody else, and maybe you're defending him, and you just do not care about fouling him or doing anything to him, or you're going up for a rebound, and instead of going for the rebound, you just go for the guy's chest or the guy's stomach, and that's kind of what these playoffs so far have brought. Not only in this series, but just the entirety of the playoffs, and this is why this is some of the best basketball of the year. You have guys playing in and out every other night. And you do have that animosity that forms over time to the point where this is where rivalries are formed in the NBA playoffs. Earlier in the season, I was talking about rivalries in an article, and the only way I considered two teams a rival was they had to have played in multiple playoff series this decade or in another decade or whatever decade I was looking at. And all the rivalries you come up with, it's like, all the moments that you remember, they happen in the playoffs. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we saw tonight in Boston on the Garden floor, and what we're seeing in these 2025 NBA playoffs as a whole.
You just can't feed the Celtics feed into it. That's it. Oh, like what my parents always told me: be the bigger man, walk away, don't feed into their antics. That's because instead of the Magic kind of seem like instead of the only way they can win this series is if the Celtics fall asleep. Now it's if the Celtics start to feed into their bullshit.
Agreed.
If one of the Celtics decide, if Lord forbid, KCP or Al Horford start to get tangled up again in Game 3, or Goga Batase has a rough foul in the paint, last thing we need is Jaylen Brown getting suspended or anything of that sort. We don't need any technicals to stack up during this playoff run because we don't know what's going to happen in the next series. Just continue to walk away and pay no mind.
But it almost feels like it's not even like Boston's just like go away, right? Like some of those Miami series, right? Like you can tell like Boston's like Boston's like they want it, right? They don't. There's bad blood, but it almost feels like
Miami was
Orlando's
trying about it.
Right,
Like,
but it almost feels like Orlando's trying to muck up a game, right? And again, I have a lot of respect towards Orlando and the concept of mucking up a playoff game, right? Like it's the playoffs. You got to find a way to win. If you're going to obviously you don't want to see anybody get injured. If you got to find a way to muck up a game, right? If that's your way to win, then so be it. It's going to be a rock fight. But it's almost like Boston's sitting there and they're like, are you seriously doing this right now? Like you really want to it's like, it's funny because Miami could always back up those punches, right? Whether it's Caleb Martin or whether it's Jimmy Butler getting in the face of Grant or Gabe Vincent or like Bam out of body, like countless moments, like Seamus was talking about with those Heat series. But it's like Orlando, it's like they're trying to start something that one, Boston doesn't care for, and two, you can't back it up. Like Miami would be up 20, right, beating down on Boston, and they're doing it. And in Orlando, it's like you're down 0-2. I don't see it. It's like I respect it. You're talking trash. You're mucking up the game when you're losing. It's like, okay, awesome. But it's like, you're not fooling anybody, right? And you're definitely not fooling the Boston Celtics locker room if that's what you're trying to do. And you're not fooling us. So I get a kick out of it.
I mean, all it does is impact. I mean, obviously they want to muck up games, but when it comes down to it, it really does impact them from a offensive perspective, defense perspective anyways, because they're just distracting themselves from the game itself and really what it takes to win a game. And they're so focused on, creating chaos and fouling that they're not even, playing winning basketball.
And you're getting Boston up. You're getting Boston up.
What's so funny about this too is literally this used to be the Celtics. Literally, like I'm thinking, like Rob, how you see it right now, like, oh, just go away from us, like get away, like what are you trying to do?
Yeah,
that used to be like the Cavs, like the 2017 or 20, like we'd be facing in the conference finals or 2016, or let's see, we faced the Cavs 2015 and 2017, and then obviously 2018. 2018, we were more on their level, but specifically talking about 15 and 17, it's like those Celtics teams were way below the Cavs. I mean, you look at those two playoff series, the Cavs were 8-1 against the Celtics. But, of course, Marcus Smart, Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley,
Kelly Olynyk,
Isaiah Thomas, Kelly Olynyk. Yes, Kelly Olynyk.
They showed a stat earlier. I'm sure, Seamus, you have it ready, but last time Tatum sat out, that was the starting lineup. Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, Kelly Olynyk, and Al Horford.
How far we've come, man. Jeez.
And that was probably, Game 5 of the 2017 Eastern Conference Final. So those series, though, the Celtics, there was some physicality in there, and it felt like the Cavs and LeBron, like that season, whether it was 2016-17 or all the way back in 2015, it was kind of like, okay, get off us. We're trying to go face Golden State right now, and it's like we just have to get by you pesky Celtics. Like Kelly Olynyk literally separated Kevin Love's shoulder in 2015 and put him out the rest of the playoffs. Like, that is another level. Like, imagine if Al Horford falls on his face and like gets a 3-week concussion. It's like, do you know how? Like KCP, I guess he was feeling some of the like from the Boston fans tonight. KCP was public enemy number one after the whole Tatum incident. Whether or not is it accidental, is it not? It's physical basketball. People don't. The Boston fans, the irrational fans, who cares? KCP, public enemy number one. Who cares if it was intentional or not? He hit Tatum. I love Tatum. KCP, I hit my guy. I love. It's like, I hate you now. And KCP, he comes out, shoots 1 of 9 tonight. But yeah, I mean, if there would have been something more serious with Al, like that Kevin Love situation, like, can you imagine, if there was a Game 5 coming back to the Garden?
Oh, the Bucks would need extra security rolling in for the Orlando Magic.
We're already getting into this, and this is the first round. It's like we might have a series against Cleveland.
This might
New
be the
York,
most
Detroit,
physical
maybe.
round.
And that's
I don't know if it's going to get more physical than this.
Yeah, and you already said it too, but it's like training it's like having a hard practice, so you're more prepared for a game. Like
so disrespectful though.
In some ways, it's true though. In some ways, it's true.
No, it is totally true. I mean, you have to look at it like that.
And they're preparing the Celtics to play in different ways that they may play against another team, and they're just kind of building the defense intensity, the second chance points, those intangibles. They're just building that up for the Celtics to know that they have that in their arsenal to continue to go throughout the play.
The only comparable defense in the league to the Orlando Magic, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it's maybe a little precursor. It's like might not face another good defense until maybe the Thunder later on down the road. And then at that point, it's like, we saw the Magic round 1. We already know what this is. And it's like, how do we stop your offense now? How do we play
it's a whole different beast.
Right.
But you're right. Like that is you don't want the first series of physicality to show up, be the NBA Finals. So if you get there, or be the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Where it's like, oh, well, hold on. We just had a month and a half of kind of walking through non-physical. And that's why Miami was so good for them last year, because it was from a physicality standpoint, it kept them up. And then, but also those games were tough. But it was it was a mental roadblock that they finally kind of got over. But this one, it's okay, Detroit's tied 1-1 with New York. That was a series I did not think would be a tied series through 2. You might see a Detroit team that's physical, and then Cleveland's a different story. But it's you're so right, Andrew, where it from a physicality standpoint, this is really good that Boston's not seeing this for the first time against a team like Oklahoma City, Seamus, you mentioned, that's got the tools to do everything, right? Where
oh, my bad. And then also it just shows up offensively our weak points, what do we need to improve on come next series, because no team is perfect, and Joe Mazzulla knows that, and he knows that there's always something that we can improve upon. So the Magic are maybe exploring something that maybe we need to work on, and we're going to attack that and move on come playoff time.
Right. No, it's a very, very good point. This series is, and again, it's we sit here in, we call it practice, this, that, but we say in the sense of which we have the expectation that we're going to get out of the series, right? I would be very shocked now if Orlando comes out and beats the Celtics 4 times in the next 5 games, right? Very unlikely. Does not, right? We only won by 9 tonight, right? Not saying Orlando can't take game 3 back at their place. We don't know, right? I mean, offensively, you from a shooting standpoint, you usually shoot much better in your home gym. So, I see guys like KCP and Corey Joseph and Anthony Black kind of spark alive once they're home. But from a the trajectory, this series is going to be really, really good for Boston to go back to from a game planning standpoint too. That's a phenomenal point. Because Orlando has done some awesome stuff defensively. I mean, they really have. I mean, Derek White wasn't a super efficient night. Porzingis, while he did have a 20 points, Porzingis kind of struggled a little bit at times getting his baskets. So it has been a physical 2 games, and honestly, credit to Orlando. I've been very impressed with what they've shown us defensively against, in my opinion, the league's best, the toughest offense to defend we've seen since the Kevin Durant Warriors. Like, that's what they're up against right now, and they're doing as good of a job as I've seen really any team do in the playoffs now for 5 series in which we've seen. I mean, they're really standing out to me this series in terms of what they bring defensively. So without a doubt, very impressed.